Well, to the other big topic in Ottawa now, a face-off on the Hill today over the government's decision to scrap the mandatory long-form census. For the first time, Canada's former chief statistician spoke about why he quit. The CBC's Melanie Nagy was watching today's committee meeting. Melanie.
Peter, take some snappy comments and a handful of huffy exchanges, then throw in a whole lot of critical questions, and you get today's discussion on the mandatory long-form census.
Bonjour. Good morning, Mr. Sheikh. Heureux d'être ici, Monsieur Clement.
Industry Minister Tony Clement.
That long-form data will now be collected through this new voluntary survey, the National Household Survey.
Canada's former chief statistician, Munir Sheikh.
The quality of the information produced under a voluntary survey would be less than that under a mandatory census.
Two men at the centre of Canada's mandatory long-form census debate. Today, both were called to speak before a parliamentary committee. Intrusive and coercive. That's how the minister views the long-form census, and he refuses to back down from his government's decision to scrap it.
I don't think government should be around for law-abiding Canadians to instill fear.
That consistent and unwavering position prompted this grilling from opposition MPs.
I suggest that you manufactured this crisis.
We expect that an industry minister makes his decisions based on fact, not on urban myth.
But Clement was not the only one to face tough questions.
Is it worth imprisoning Canadians in return for that data?
If the government doesn't want people to go to jail, it's not my issue.
After 38 years at the agency, Sheikh abruptly quit last week. When asked about his resignation, he became emotional.
Committed to the value and values.
But when asked about the census changes, he stood firm.
As long as we all understand that statisticians are saying that the quality of data is going to be lower.
But even with all that debate, there was little talk about a possible compromise. Today, that came from the National Statistics Council. The government-appointed advisory body, which has remained silent until now, says...
But it's time to stop simply arguing. We have to start moving towards solutions.
The council says government should also drop the possibility of a jail sentence for not complying, but that these changes should be considered for the 2016 census, not the 2011. Peter?
All right, Melanie, thank you. The CBC's Melanie Nagy in Ottawa. While the debate continues in the nation's capital, we're getting the first peek at next year's census. The National's Duncan McHugh has a copy. Duncan.
Peter, some of those long-form census questions may seem odd, perhaps intrusive, but turns out they do serve a purpose for municipalities, schools, even health clinics.
Here's surprising medical news. Scrapping the long-form census may be hazardous to your health. That's according to Vancouver's chief medical officer.
Because we use the data that's collected in the census form to help us plan programs to improve the health of the population.
Health researchers take statistics about income, education, and employment to build what they call a deprivation index. That allows them to target neighborhoods, particularly low-income ones, with proper health programs. In Vancouver, long-form census data resulted in school fitness classes or community gardens, especially in poorer neighborhoods where voluntary surveys are less likely to be filled out.
This question, is this dwelling in need of any repairs? Some people find that to be obtrusive, perhaps.
They may not realize that housing is an important determinant of the health of a population and of the individuals in the population.
This would be a downloading of costs to the cities.
The City of Vancouver is also asking Ottawa to reinstate the long-form census.
All those in favor of the motion and any opposed? And that carries unanimously.
The worry from City Hall, Ottawa is downloading costs to municipal taxpayers for what the Director of City Planning sees as critical information.
Just about everything we do starts with census data, starts with good information, and then we use that to make good policy or good specific decisions.
Without it, municipalities may have to pay for surveys to decide where to build community centers or ice rinks, or plan locations for bike lanes and routes for public transport.
Question 48. What time did this person usually leave home to go to work?
Oh, great example, because by knowing when people leave to go to work, we can plan our transportation system around off-peak trips.
The Vancouver Board of Trade is also opposing Ottawa's move to cut the long form. It says small businesses will suffer, such as restaurants or plumbing stores, if they have to pay for information that's now collected in the census. Peter?
Duncan McHugh in Vancouver. Thanks, Duncan.